those of you who are new to this page, my name is Kiki Smith. I am the co-founder of Eat More to Weigh Less and also creator of Crushing the Diet Mentality Academy and Workshop. I'm also a personal trainer and I train other personal trainers. But today we're actually talking about a topic that I just finished discussing on a client call where she was talking about, like no one in my life supports me. So I kind of wanted to just jump on really quick and share with you guys 3 of some of the reasons that I shared with her. Obviously, there's tons of reasons why people in your life don't support you, but I just wanted to point out 3 really quick. So I know, granted, there's a lot of haters out there. So you're always going to have people that are they just don't like you for whatever reason they don't like you. And that's cool. Maybe they are just haters, but maybe they aren't, or if the haters are people that are kind of close to you, like they're in your inner circle, then maybe you do care. So, or maybe it's something that you want to consider and you want to understand, okay, I don't understand why they don't support me. Maybe it's like your spouse or your mom or your kids or people at work, whatever it is. So the number one reason that people don't support you is they don't believe you. So this is one of the things, like I've done a series on our YouTube channel before where I kind of pinned down my husband and asked him some of the reasons why, what are some of the reasons that husbands specifically tend to sabotage their wives? And as I've talked to different people in families and things, especially within the Eat More to Weigh Less community, a huge reason why people don't support you, and you may have found that you've done this to people in the past too, is that you don't believe them. So, maybe you are that person, that girl that cried wolf, or you've experienced that where that person that's always changing things up. They're always like, this is like their 78th fad diet, or their 12th time quitting smoking, or, they're starting a new MLM or whatever it is, and there's always this person, like they're always starting something, but maybe they're never finishing it. And perhaps that's been you in the past. So that's why you're going to find that typically the people that are closest to you, they're going to remember all of those things, and that's going to come up. So whenever you first start trying to change something, especially if you're that person, that girl who's always just been kind of like radical and taking everything, to the extreme, maybe you're the one that's always starting something but not ever finishing it, or you get a couple weeks in and it kind of just it fades away. So if that is you, then you can't really expect people to just jump on board. Like I know for myself, I tend to hold people to that too. Like if I know somebody who is always saying that they're going to do something, I just kind of wait it out to see, is this something that's going to stick or not? And that could be what somebody's doing for you. So whether you're that person that doesn't believe people or you're the person that nobody believes, just make sure that you're committed first before you start trying to get other people to jump on board with whatever it is that you're doing, before you start trying to pull other people along. So the second reason that I would say is that, oftentimes these people they're affected by what you're doing. So maybe you think that it's no big deal. I'm just I'm doing this. What does it have to do with them? Why aren't they on board? But if what you're doing affects them, maybe you're changing up the game. Maybe you didn't give them any notice before you did this thing. So say you hang around, maybe you want to quit smoking, but you hang around a bunch of smokers. Suddenly you're like, I don't smoke anymore. How does their relationship with you start to change because of the fact that you're not doing this thing anymore? Or if you're, used to curling up at night on the couch with Hulu and a bag of popcorn and some Oreos with your husband, and suddenly you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore because I'm on a diet, then that just changed things for them too. It affected their life. So you want to consider that ahead of time, because that's what they're wondering is what does this change mean to me? You're deciding that you're going to do this thing, but I do this thing this way, and I didn't decide that I was going to do whatever it is with you. So how is that change affecting them? You may not be thinking about it, but maybe they are. So if to them, you're screwing with the arrangement of how things have been in the past, And especially if that ties into number one, where they've watched you like do this back and forth thing over and over, then maybe they're just kind of sitting around waiting for you to like get back to normal. So they're just like, okay, this is just another one of the fads. If I just wait it out long enough, we'll be able to get our Oreos and get back to the couch and do whatever it is that we're going to do. So think about that ahead of time before you present it to the person. Is like, how does this change affect that person before you present it to them? The number three thing that I would say is that maybe you seem miserable. Like, why would somebody, if you're like hangry and complaining about how hard things are, or, you know, like you're being a martyr about whatever it is that you're doing, like, why would someone want to join that and or support you? Like, typically, like if they really love you, they kind of want to help you out of misery, not support you in it necessarily. So if you seem completely miserable about what you're doing, if the new change that you're taking on, this thing that you're going to accomplish, whatever, in the new year or over the summer or whenever it is that you're declaring this change that you're going to do, if it seems like you're like missing out on all the fun in their eyes, then they're probably not going to be super supportive of it. You know, they're going to like, it's not going to hold any enticement for them to do it. And 9 times out of 10, like again, when we talk about with number one and number two, they're just trying to wait it out for you to get back to normal, happy you. So a lot of times what we look at as somebody not being supportive are those things. So in the instance of when you're trying to maybe lose weight and it's a struggle for you, or maybe you're, you know, new to the Eat More to Weigh Less lifestyle and you're trying to like eat more and everybody around you is eating less, but if you're complaining like, oh my gosh, and I'm gaining weight and this thing's happening and the scale's not moving and you know, I can't eat this much or whatever it is, if you're complaining about those things, the person just wants you to be happy again. So they might start throwing out suggestions to you like, why don't you just reduce your calories? Or why don't you just, you know, start running again or whatever it is, because they're going to resort back to a time in their head when you were happier and they're going to want you to be happier and get back to being you. So a lot of times that's what gets in the way of them not supporting you. So one of the things that you want to think through before you start to, you know, have a change is ask yourself, is it worth it? Like, is this something that you even plan on doing long term before you, you know, go bragging about it and try to bring other people along? Like, is this something that you plan on sticking out? Think about how it's going to affect them in the long run. How is it going to affect others, you know, or are you going to be able to include them in your life in a new way other than whatever this old thing was that you did with them? And kind of be prepared to go at it alone just for a little while until they see that it's legit and that it's real. Because if you want it bad enough anyways, and it's something that you really truly believe in, then you should be okay with going it alone, especially if you were the girl, the guy, whatever, that cried wolf in the past. If in the past people have, you know, not been able to see you follow through on something, then just understand up front that they're not going to believe you and they don't think that you're following through. So if it's worth it to you, then you're going to be okay. Get into a support system of people who do get it, you know, and lean on those people. So you could be prepared for some people to not necessarily believe you or want to take part in it, but also lean on a community of people who do believe in it, who do want to support you, who understand why you're doing what you're doing until you've done it for long enough that you feel confident and happy in what you're doing to be able to bring somebody else along in it. Now, obviously, I wouldn't say like if you're like married, don't go like leaning on somebody that's going to cause problems in your marriage or something like that, but just get some support from the people who actually get it until you have enough confidence and security and consistency in what you're doing that you can present it as this legit thing that you're doing. But if you're walking around miserable, starting and stopping things all the time, it's really gonna be hard for people to hold on to it, for them to support you, for them to want you to succeed in this thing that you say you're doing. So those are just a few tips that I wanted to share with you guys. Think about that. Again, not that you necessarily need to take on, you know, all the issues of somebody else, of how they feel about you changing, but just take some of those things into consideration. If it seems like somebody's like abnormally being negative about what it is that you're doing, is, you know, are you changing things up? Did it affect them in some way? And are you the person who, you know, typically you start and stop stuff all the time and they're just like, you know, hurry up, move on, and get back to being normal, happy you. So thank you guys for joining. If you have any questions that I didn't answer, or, you know, if you want to hear more reasons why people sabotage you, because I'm sure there's tons more, then we can share those. I also did a series on YouTube that you guys can look at, specifically with my husband, if you have an issue with your spouse sabotaging you, where I kind of just asked him, like, what's the deal with this? And you can check that out. It's still on our YouTube channel. I'll post a link later. But if there are questions, you guys can post them below, and I will always hop back on and talk to you guys. And if you missed the start of this, you can catch the replay. But if you don't want to miss it live again, you can always hit the get notifications so that whenever I'm live, you can actually know ahead of time. So I think he said Mike sabotages you. Totally. I get it. You already know my story with Steve, and he did it for a very long time. So it's not abnormal for your spouse to sabotage you, but usually that's why. Like, when I've talked to spouses, that's one of the big things that they talk about. It's just like, A, it's just annoying to them that you're just doing this new thing, you know, and B, it's affecting them because they're like, they don't know what to buy for you, if they want to like stop and buy you some food, or maybe you're eating something that you can't eat with them, you know, at night and things like that. So it really is, you know, a lot different depending on the person. If it's your spouse, there's usually the same few reasons. And if it's friends or family, you know, who knows? Maybe it's more crab in a bucket type thing, which I don't know if you ever heard that term before, but crabs in a bucket is like, if you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, if you put one in a bucket by itself, it can climb right out and go. But if you put a bunch of crabs in that same bucket and one of them tries to climb out, they will pull that sucker apart limb for limb. They will literally kill each other to not be in the butt for one of them trying to leave. So sometimes that's all it is. And like I said, if that is, then haters gonna hate, and that's just, it is what it is. But it's still sometimes good to just take advantage of thinking it through for other people and seeing if there's something that you're doing that's changing things up before you just move right into the like, they're haters, it's all good, I'm gonna do what I gotta do, you know, because then that's a lonely road too. So do try to find some support if you can. If you guys aren't in the Crushing the Diet Mentality community, you can also join over there, because if you're part of Be More, Way Less, then most of the people in there do get what you're doing. So I will talk to you guys later. Thanks everybody that was able to hop on while we were live, and I will see you guys later.